was 5 and he was 6. We rode on horses made of sticks. He wore black and I wore white. He would always win the fight. Bang, bang. He shut me down. Bang, bang. I hit the ground. Bang, bang. That awful sound. Bang, bang. My baby shot me down. Seasons came and changed the time. When I grew up I called him mine. He would always laugh and say, remember when we used to play. Bang, bang, I shot you down. Bang, bang, you hit the ground. Bang, bang, that awful sound. Bang, bang, my baby shot me down. Music played and people sang. Just for me the church bells rang. Now he's gone, I don't know why. And to this day sometimes I cry. He didn't even say goodbye. He didn't take the time to lie. Bang, bang, he shot me down. Bang, bang, I hit the ground. Bang, bang, that awful sound. Bang, bang, my baby shot me down.
All right, folks, how are we doing tonight? How are we doing? Everything sound good? Is my microphone appropriately low? Got to keep it low. Got to make sure the microphone's nice and low. Don't want too many people to hear us. All right. Got a super chat. Duke Tumwater sends $1. He says, if you had to live under Mormon, Catholic, or Jewish rule, which would you choose and why? I really don't know. Those are all awful. But they're very unique flavors of awful. It's like the rock paper scissors Pokemon starter pack, like starter thing kind of. I don't know, man. That is a tough one. They say they can't hear me. Well, that's good. That's what we want. In the chat, somebody asked, "Is it Kill Bill?" Well, that was Bang Bang, which is a Nancy Sinatra song originally, but that's an Anne Reburn cover I was playing. And yes, that song, the Nancy Sinatra version, anyways, was in Kill Bill. Turn it down more. All right, chat, we'll turn it down some more. But yeah, Catholic, Mormon, and Jewish. I don't know, man. I mean, are we talking just like secular Jews or full on Talmud Jews? You know what I'm talking about? Like, I don't know. I mean, Catholics, you could get right or left, but either way, you're getting big fucking government right up your ass. Mormons, I guess, are probably the least bad of the three. Like, there'd probably be all kinds of bedroom police, and they'd probably ban booze and shit like that. You're gonna have to go. I'd have to go talk to Elliot. Or not Elliot. That's fucking. God, I'm brain fart. The gangster, the fucking untouchable gangster. I'd have to talk to him to get my Captain Morgan. I have to stock up on the Captain Morgan now before they take power. But I guess they'd be the least bad of the three. I mean, at least the Mormons probably aren't going to rape your children and will let you read the Bible. So I guess I got that going for them. Ah. Oh, Lordy. All right, so we're gonna take a caller. We have a very special caller. Somebody wanted to call in from my Discord server, and he wanted to tell us all why he hates fun. So let's see. I'll try calling him. Doesn't look like he's on. He said he was going to be on here in a minute. We'll see if this works. Everything should be set up. So he says Mormons are big church and moralistic, but they don't care if you are typically. I feel like Mormons of the three are the most likely to leave you alone. Let me put it that way. Now, I definitely don't particularly want them in charge, because I said the most likely to leave me alone among those three. But okay, so
Hello.
Hey, caller, what's up?
Is my sound quality any good, or do I sound like I'm in a tin can?
Fucking awful, but that's what we like on this show. It's fucking we can hear
All
you.
right, perfect.
In fact, you
Thank
should
you
probably lower your voice a bit, because I think it's maybe just a bit too loud.
All right.
For this show.
Well, I can hear you just fine.
All right. Somebody says somebody in the chat asked for the link to the Discord server. One of the mods, could you throw that in there for him? All right. Okay, so you were the one that hates Breath of the Wild. Am I correct?
Yeah, I really don't like that game that much.
Okay, well, then I guess my simple question would be, how does it feel to be so wrong?
Feels great.
I don't get it. Okay, well, what Zelda game do you like? What's your favorite Zelda game?
I usually go back and forth between Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask. I like Twilight Princess a lot, though.
Okay, I mean, I gotta say, when I first played Twilight Princess, I just couldn't get into it. I just found myself wishing I was playing Ocarina of Time. I hadn't played that one first. And
it pretty much is Ocarina of Time 2.0.
It's not even like a huge nostalgia thing for me, because I mean, Ocarina of Time came out when I was a teenager, and I didn't have an N64. I didn't really sit down and play it in any depth until like 2005. So I don't consider it a huge, like, shortly before I got my Wii is when I first played it. So I don't think it's a huge nostalgia thing for me. Like, I have more blind nostalgia for like the original Legend of Zelda. That's the one I had when I was a little kid, because I'm old as fuck.
Somehow I missed the original through most of my childhood. I have a very strange backstory when it comes to gaming.
I mean, I played the original and the sequel, which I didn't care for. But, when you're a kid, you don't admit it's bad. You try to play it. Because it's like, oh, you don't have a lot of games, you know what I mean? So it's like, and plus you suck when you're a kid. So you're not sure, like, is this bad because I suck, or is it bad because it's bad? You know what I mean?
Zelda 2 is fucking ridiculously hard for stupid reasons.
Zelda 2 is not. I mean, I appreciate a lot of what they were trying to do there, like as an adult, but yeah, it's not very fun. I mean, Zelda 2,
controls
Zelda
are ass in it.
Zelda 1 has a lot of the same problems, and yet it just has more of a fun factor to it. Like, the tank controls in Zelda 1 are fucking obnoxious. Combat is brutal in it. It's just push the B button and pray to God is in Zelda 1. It's obtuse as all fuck. And yet still, there is a certain magic to Zelda 1 of just being plopped there, and you don't know fuck all, and some creepy pervert in a cave gives you a sword, and they'll go fight monsters. That's fucking magical.
Yeah, I remember when I first played the first Zelda, because I had played several of the other ones first, and I was like really excited. I'm like, this is where it all started. I remember immediately being like, this is kind of ass.
Oh, it's rough. It's rough. I mean, but it's 1986, 1987.
Yeah, I forgive it for, it's ancient, so I forgive it for a lot of that stuff because of the time it came out. But even something as simple as like there's no boss music, I remember being just I remember thinking that was really jarring when I first played it.
I didn't even play Link to the Past. I didn't have a Super Nintendo. I went from NES to Genesis. And I literally don't remember even briefly playing it at a friend's house. I think the first time I played it would have been like '06 or '07. Shortly after I mostly beat
Damn.
Ocarina of Time. Like I was getting back into games, so I finally got myself a Super Nintendo, and that was one of the games I got. And it was weird having played Ocarina of Time first, how much Ocarina of Time was fleshing out ideas from Link to the Past.
Oh yeah. It's basically the same kind of pattern as A Link to the Past. You got the three kind of wimpy, kid dungeons, and then the game just kind of opens up after that. It's pretty much the same pattern.
So what don't you like about Breath of the Wild? Because there is a lot. As much as I absolutely think it's a great game, there is plenty of things I would criticize about Breath of the Wild. But what specifically is the sand in your vagina?
First off, it's not like the shittiest game ever. It's not even the worst Zelda game ever. If I could be honest, I think a lot of the things I dislike about it are actually kind of just the culture around it. It's not even like there's things in the game itself that kind of irk me, but I kind of hate the fact that it's kind of become like this monolithic sort of be all end all of Zelda, and now it seems like they're gonna just milk it to death. We're gonna get endless prequels and sequels, and no one will shut up about it.
Well, yeah, I mean there is lots of people drawing Link in his fucking chick outfit. There's a lot of that. But in all fairness, like with Twilight Princess, a lot of people want Link to fuck that little goblin he was hanging out with. I don't know why.
Well,
But
at least at the end of the
wants
game, the little goblin turns into a hot alien beach babe.
Yeah, but that's not what people are drawing.
I know.
I
That's
don't know
just
why.
it's your typical degeneracy.
But,
It all started with the Zora and Ocarina of Time. That's
I
where the
don't know, like-
degeneracy started.
Breath of the Wild is one of those games where, like, I've honestly not bothered to beat it, and I may never bother to beat it because it's like I've seen the end cutscenes and all, and I've seen the end fight is kind of underwhelming and all. Breath of the Wild's magic is early on in that game. The Great Plateau is, in my opinions, if you're going to call it a level, one of the best first levels ever made. It is amazing at how organically it teaches you the mechanics and the concepts of this game, without really holding your hand either. It's one of those things to me. It's like years from now they'll talk about it the way everybody gushes over the first Super Mario Brothers level, how it taught people that never held a controller how to play the game. There's a magic early on in Breath of the Wild, but
Have you heard of Jesus?
it's definitely one of those things where I will freely admit it does taper off. I still like to fire it up and fuck around in it like I do a lot of sandbox games. Like, if I'm just kind of bored or just want to relax, I will fire it up and literally just fuck around and kill some monsters. But I'm kind of done with the game part of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot to, like, the weapon breaking system thing. Some of these weapons really should be fucking more durable. It is kind of ridiculous with, like, when you get to the high end shit.
It's kind of hilarious how breakable the weapons are, and I know it's a video game, but it kind of actually screws around with the lore when you think about it.
It
But
feels
that's getting into
like-
Spurgy nerd territory.
It feels like there should be a crafting system in it. Like, it feels like they meant to have that in there. It feels like they meant to have underwater exploration in there. And I guess maybe a time crunch or something stopped that.
If I was gonna say, for the longest time, I've actually had the feeling the game was incomplete, and I have a feeling there was probably some behind the scenes shenanigans we'll never know about.
And I definitely think the enemy variety in it is just outright poor. Once
Yeah.
you really,
I think there's
start to
less
feel
than
that.
10 enemy types in the game if you don't count the four and a half bosses.
It's bad after a while. You start to realize, like, it's just the same groups of guys over and over again. I mean, now the enemy AI is amazing.
Yeah.
The way they fleshed out the different races of enemies, the way each one is very, very distinct. The Lionel's AI is downright impressive.
Yeah, to be fair, that's something they've nailed for a while. Even the game I think is infinitely worse. Skyward Sword, like the AI for the enemies and their patterns and stuff is pretty well done. They've nailed that for a while.
Yeah, it does get pretty samey after a while. It does reach a like before you've even explored all the map, you've seen all the enemies there are to see. You might have not seen some of the elemental variants, but nothing's really going to surprise you. Like very early after leaving the Great Plateau, have you run out of oh shit moments encountering enemies?
Yeah. That's a common problem with a lot of open world games. So I don't know. I agree. There's not a lot of enemies, but I also agree. There's a few things in the game I actually really do like. Kind of like you said, I kind of appreciate the fact it doesn't actually hold your hand, which is something a lot of Zelda games started to do. They kind of treat you like a baby, and they're like, okay, now you press the A button to throw the fishing rod. I do kind of like how Breath of the Wild just like dumps you into the world, and it's like, good luck.
I mean, a lot of people shit on like the story parts with oh Link having the amnesia, which is obviously a beat to death shit, especially in Animus. But
yeah, that's the shit that I don't like in the game at all.
It's a story element that jives so flawlessly with the gameplay. Because the biggest
Have
problem
you
with a
heard
lot
of
of sandbox
Jesus?
games is they end up with a disconnect between the story and the gameplay. You know,
Yeah.
all the Grand Theft Auto games where they try and make your character like some conflicted anti-hero, you know, when it's like you're just murdering people for random fun. Well, like with the amnesia element to Link, basically anything you choose to do. Man, that cat is getting loud.
I'll be back in a second. It's my roommate's damn cat. I'll go take care of it.
Well, anyways, to the audience, anything you choose to do with Link early on feels in character. Like in that moment where, you know, you woke up from your healing chamber and you have no memory of what the fuck's going on, you know, basically anything you do from the Great Plateau on feels in character. Like you leave that plateau, it's perfectly reasonable to assume Link would just be going apeshit and head straight to the castle. It's perfectly reasonable to assume Link would fuck around for a while because he feels he's completely not ready. That he would do all the divine beasts first, that he would talk to people, that he would want to reclaim himself before he goes and fights this. Basically, anything you do doesn't end up being out of character for what they wrote. Which is kind of, that's where I feel like the more simplified story really just feeds into the gameplay. Hang on, a couple of super chats. $1 from Duke of Tumwater. He says, "Remember when Movie Bob thought that Link in Breath of the Wild was a woman?" I do remember that. Yeah, he's like, "Oh, you think Link's gonna be a chick?" Let's see. And Cowardly Dog says, "Here's $5 for you to not watch any shite video suggestions. For only one video, I'm afraid. Choose wisely. Also, who's the twink?" The twink. It's somebody for the Discord server. I don't know if he's a twink. We'd have to. Hey, he'd have to dox himself for us to know that. I don't know. Well, does he? Do you follow Nick Fuentes? That might.
No.
Really clue us into you being a twink. You know, you're not wearing cat boys.
No, I don't like Nick Fuentes at all.
Well, yeah, I've adored Breath of the Wild. I have poured so many hours into that before I even got anywhere in it. I remember when I first heard the Master Sword was in it, I'm like, oh, I got to find the Lost Woods. And I actually and I had heard they were like northwest of the castle or some shit like that, northeast or whatever. So I actually ended up in the dark, like woods, like the Zonai ruins that are shrouded in like the darkness. I thought that was the Lost Woods. Like I just like
Dan Farron.
Lost, and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess this is the Lost Woods. So I ended up doing like the shrine quest in it, thinking it's going to lead me to the Master Sword, and it's like, nope, here's the thing, and then nothing in it changes. Which that's actually one of the things I flat out dislike in that game. I wish more of the side quests were like the Terrytown thing, where you actually see changes. Like, I feel like the side quest in that Shadow Ruins should have lifted the Shadow Curse.
Yeah. I think one thing that would have helped the game a lot is, I know it's kind of an open world game, and I'm pretty sure they want to encourage you to just like go off and do whatever, but kind of like a sense of urgency. Like something as simple as like you go into a town and like a guardian like tries to attack the town, you see people like running away or trying to defend against it. Like the world feels weirdly what's the word I'm looking for? It's like it doesn't, because the game kind of has like this, like it's supposed to be like a post-apocalypse kind of thing, like the world fell apart, Hyrule was destroyed, but it doesn't really feel like, it feels like just one, like the center of the world was destroyed, but everywhere else is kind of fine.
I feel like they were going for the idea of like after this apocalypse, it's kind of miserable, but there's this sort of weird equilibrium struck, like a very fragile one, but like the monsters aren't bold enough to go into certain towns, but they're bold enough to attack people alone. I felt like they were going for all this sort of like fragile stalemate between the two forces.
I can see that. I've enjoyed other Zelda games where there was always like this looming kind of threat over everything. Like in Majora's Mask, the whole game you have like the moon that's about to annihilate the entire planet, and then in Twilight Princess you have Zant and all of his creatures like stalking you through the whole game. I always kind of like that. In Breath of the Wild, it sets it up for something like that. It sets it up so you have all these guardians roaming around destroying stuff, but they kind of just like sit there and don't really do much. Unless you like go at them head on, I guess. But it feels like a weirdly calm setting considering like this huge disaster that happened. And I guess that could just be me nitpicking. It's something I would do different if I was in charge. I'd have like the guardians be a little more proactive, I guess.
I could kind of see that, but I sort of like having I kind of like having a timer loom over me in Zelda. That's one of the reasons I've never been able to play Majora's Mask. I got very, like, even though, like, it resets, you can reset it and all, but it just, having it hover over me all the time, because I like to fuck around in a Zelda game. Like, I will sink in a first playthrough of a Zelda game, like, I don't know, if somebody's like, I beat the game in 50 hours, I'm like, really? Because I put, like, 300 in it. They'll be like, yeah, go to that dungeon. I'll be like, yeah, in a bit. I'm gonna go fishing. Like, I fuck around relentlessly in a Zelda game. I just like I got to the the Sheikah, or not the Sheikah, the ninjas, the Yiga. I got to the Yiga hideout before I was supposed to, and it was actually closed off. There was a fucking brick like stone thing in there, and I'm thinking I'm supposed to get in it somehow because I can kind of see like little question marks that people are reacting to the noise like inside. I'm like, how do I get in this thing? Because I didn't go into the town and talk to people. I'm just like, no, I'm just gonna fuck around. And then there's like the bottomless pit in the back that, again, I'm conditioned with the paraglider to want to explore. So I jump down the fucker like immediately. I'm like, what's down here? Maybe that's how I get inside. And then like it's like, oh, you fell out of bottomless pit. I'm like, bullshit. But no, I just fuck around in it. Like I'm trying to be like, how do I get into the Yiga clan? And like somebody's like, did you go talk to what's her name in the village? I'm like, no, I went in the village and bought arrows and had left. And it's like, play the game.
Yeah, I can definitely. Oh, go on. Sorry.
I was early on. The game kind of taught me to like sneak around. Like the first time I went in the Great Plateau, when I went into one of the goblin things, and the first blue goblin, bokoblin had like one shot at me. I'm like, oh, I need to like sneak around and fuck around. I didn't really learn the combat until I started fighting Lynels, because that's the one where you cannot cheese them.
You can't fuck around with them.
You have to. But when I went to the Yiga hideout, because those guys, you had to sneak past those guys. I'm like, I don't really like stealth things, and I'm like, ancient arrows one shot them, right? So I went and I stocked up on ancient arrows. I had like 40 of them, and I just one shotted all the sentries as I was going through, and then it's super easy, like. But I'm like, no, I want to explore in here. I want to fuck around.
It's probably what I would have done too. I hate stealth games.
Yeah, I don't like sneaking around. It's just like, I want to fuck some shit up. But yeah, it's funny. Early on, I feel like the game teaches you to be cautious. And then I really feel like the Lionel is the one enemy where it just absolutely is like, no, now you have to learn the combat if you want to take one of these things down. There's
Yeah.
even a side quest where you need like Lionel monster parts, and you can't get monster parts off something when you one-shot them with an ancient arrow, so that doesn't even work. You just gotta fight them. I mean, you can get a few cheap shots in early on, but you gotta fight them because they got that cheap bullshit with the arrows. Like, they can teleport their arrows and like drop right down on you, even if you're undercover. Like in the Coliseum, I figured like I could just shoot arrows at this asshole, and he can't do fuck. He can't. I got something over my head. He can't hit me. Apparently, he can.
You can. Yeah, I can definitely appreciate, that aspect of the game, the kind of freeform aspect of it. A lot of the things I dislike are, I guess, like the story and character elements.
I actually really like the story. I just admit there's not much of it. I genuinely like this interpretation of Zelda. Like, I like that she's this poor, put upon nerd girl that just doesn't like her fucking station in life. Like, it's like, learn to do magic. And she's like, I want to learn how science works. And it's like, no, shut up. Do magic. But I can't do magic. Fuck the goddess. I want to make these fucking contraptions.
I guess it says something that probably my two favorite characters in the game are her father and the asshole bird. Because I agree with her father.
But, like, this poor, put upon nerd girl that just has the weight of family expectations thrust upon her. And I liked actually seeking out the memories, but I will admit it's a very thin plot, again, because they try to give you as much free... That's the thing, Zelda went in a direction of just as linear as can fucking be. Okay? It was starting to get in a direction where, like, do you guys just want to make a movie as, like, my occasionally wanting to push buttons a hindrance to you? Like, just animate a fucking movie if that's what you want to do. People will watch it. Like,
I'm honestly surprised they haven't.
Like, I'm sorry, Zelda games are getting to the point where I felt like I was walking in on the fucking Nintendo executives jerking off. Like, am I disturbing you? Should I be here? Like,
oh man, you would probably really hate Skyward Sword.
that's what I hear. I never bothered to play it because everyone's like, it's just,
it's ass.
like,
It
even
really
something
is.
like Ocarina of Time. It's very, very linear. But at the same time, Ocarina of Time gives you an illusion of exploration. If that makes sense. Like, it feels more explorative than it is. Like, when you really step back, you're like, all you ever find is a fucking cave in the ground with some rupees in it that are pretty much worthless. Like, you can't buy shit. Or, like, after you bought, like, 3 things, you can't buy shit.
It's something with the way the world is actually designed. Like, I remember when I was playing Ocarina of Time for the first time, it always felt like outside of the bounds of an area, there was something, even if there wasn't. So the world just kind of felt it felt bigger than it actually was, I guess. I guess that's how I'd put it. And it always felt like, even though I've explored every single inch of this area, it always felt like there's something you might have missed that might have led to somewhere else. And Ocarina of Time is kind of the only game that feels like that.
I'm still
at least for me.
at the different atmospheres, like the going under the well and the Shadow Temple is insanely creepy for that game. The Forest Temple is still my favorite. Like the music in it, the looks of it, and all. Like, I adore the Forest Temple.
That's one of the reason I like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask so much, is even though they kind of have like this kind of fairy tale sort of exterior, they're kind of really messed up under the surface. A lot of N64 games were like that for some reason.
Yeah, that's the other problem with Breath of the Wild. Like, after a while, the dungeons get to be just a chore because they're all the fucking same. It's all just a bunch of busy work, and I get that. And don't get me wrong, I always got excited when I found a new
Jesus?
Like shrine just because it was a fast travel port. You know, I'd often like activate a shrine and then like not even bother going in it early on. Just like, all right, got me another thing. Go explore more. You know, put down a new anchor. I'm gonna go explore more. Somebody in the chat says, you mentioned in the past you don't exactly have a high opinion of Gene Roddenberry. Why is that? I mean, look, it's hard to deny that, you know, Gene Roddenberry created a great show that spun off into a great franchise. But, I mean, the guy was kind of up his own ass in a whole lot of ways and just heavily
yes, he was
fucking autistic. You know?
He was a massive pervert, too.
Yeah, I mean, he's the guy that wanted the Ferengis to have giant dicks. Which again, the first time you hear that, you think, "Oh, is that some sort of a?" Because a lot of times when writers are world building, they'll come up with a lot of details in their heads that are not necessarily going to get brought up, but just to maintain consistency, they want things way more fleshed out than it has to be. A lot of writers will do that, and that's often how you end up with very consistent works. These races and all. You have a Bible that the other writers will consult when need be. And when I first heard that, I thought, is that just like something he put in that sort of thing? No, he wanted like them to have giant fucking cod pieces and shit, and just draw.
There's concept art of it in the Art of Star Trek book.
Like, they're walking around with fucking lightsaber whips, because that makes sense.
I actually thought the whips were cool.
It was a cool effect.
Dumb as they were.
But that's the only time we see him do it. We don't see a Ferengi use those ever again. It was
They brought it
just
back
those guys.
once in Enterprise.
Maybe just those
They
guys
brought
were
back
there.
they brought back the Electro Whip once in Enterprise.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, one of the Enterprise episodes. They didn't even realize they were Ferengi because everyone on the ship's like knocked out. But there's one Ferengi in that episode with the Electro Whip. I do find it funny, like the Ferengi were kind of created to be like this like the main villains of TNG basically, and like this kind of anti-capitalist thing, and they end up becoming like one of the most likable aliens by the end of DS9.
Well, it's always like every time one of these shitlibs is writing anti-capitalism, you got to be like, do you know what capitalism is? Like,
I don't think they do.
Like, I remember like when people were talking about Avatar, it's like it's anti-capitalist. It's like you could definitely argue it's anti-imperialism, it's anti-corporative, but like going somewhere and stealing someone's shit is not capitalism. That's just stealing someone's shit. Like if
That's just
we went
like,
over to
like
the planet,
natural state of the world.
if we went over to the blue people's planet and convinced them to sell their fucking magic tree for some stupid plastic beads, that would be a shitty interpretation of capitalism. Like,
Yeah.
It's that old saying, like, the Toby Keith song of "Put a boot in your ass, it's the American way." No, the American way is to convince you that boot is cool and sell it to you at a 500% markup.
Have you heard of Jesus?
Yeah.
Duke Tumwater sends another $1 and says, "Thoughts on people saying the Ferengi were anti-Semitic caricatures?" I mean, well, yeah. Like,
I don't know if that was intentional, but
I will say in DS9 they start to get a lot more characteristics of the Chinese more than the Jews, but
yeah. They really did a pretty good job with them, considering how much of a joke they are. They did a pretty good job with them in
you
DS9.
couldn't tell me early on those weren't just meant to be space Jews. Like, there's no,
I don't know if that was their intent. That's definitely how they come off. I love that one episode of TNG when they invite they don't invite the Ferengi. They're like trying to like sell a wormhole to people, and the Ferengi show up, and they're like, "Where's the fucking chairs?"
Yeah,
Anyway, I guess we kind of went off
You
topic.
cannot argue they were not meant to be a caricature. I don't buy for a second that wasn't at least subconscious.
It probably was. A lot of these people let things slip when they do stuff.
But yes, back to Breath of the Wild. I really found the dungeons pretty lackluster. A couple of them I just didn't bother to do because they were like motion control things, and I don't really ever hook my Switch up to the TV, and trying to do motion control shit on that tablet is a fucking nightmare. Now I love using the tablet. I like the portable aspect of it a lot. That is 99% of how I've ever used the Switch in the 3 years I've had it. But, I mean, trying to do those motion puzzles with the fucking tablet. First of all, like I'd be laying in bed and it's like I try to do the motion puzzle. Well, first of all, I got to get out of bed or get out of the chair I'm in or whatever and stand up before I even get onto the motion thing so that I'm fucking centered. And now I'm trying to, like, no, it ain't worth a fucking heart container. No, it ain't. You keep your spirit orb. I don't want it.
Yeah, I don't like any of the motion control crap, and I was someone who was excited for the Wii back in the day.
I mean, I don't mind motion control as a concept. I'm not like, one of these guys like, oh, it's just casual stupid. Like, no, there's a lot of good applications of it. That's just not one of them. Aiming the
Yeah,
arrows,
I do
even
think it
with the
could be
tablet,
done well. It just
is pretty good.
haven't
with the
really.
gyroscope.
What was good?
Aiming the arrows, even with the tablet, is pretty good with the motion controls.
Yeah.
The moment you make me do big sweeping movements with the motion controls is just it's not gonna work.
Yeah, you would definitely hate Skyward Sword.
So he says Majora's Mask showed how to do 4 dungeons right. Breath of the Wild ain't it. The dungeons and bosses were so samey. Like, I get the idea that you're going for a similar theme with all the dungeons and all, but I mean, it just a lot of them early on I was really enjoying, but then after a while it got to be like, oh fucking hell. I think to boost up my heart count, I just finally did, like, once I got good at the combat, I just did all the test of strength ones and banged those out to, and then beyond that, I didn't even get all my hearts up. I just like, I got yellow hearts to complete it. Just cook some durians and you're fine.
Yeah, I couldn't even get through the dungeons in that game. I like you. I didn't finish the game. I ended up looking up some of the stuff just to see if I was missing anything, but
And approaching all the dungeons is like all the same. You ride something and shoot some stuff while you're riding to get on the dungeon. It's like, oh man, I don't care. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I don't know. I know you like some of the characters and the story elements and stuff, but I feel like I could put up with a lot of that bullshit if I liked what was going on, I guess.
The dungeons are just the absolute weakest part of that. And again, once you've explored in it, it just sort of becomes like a whole bunch of meh. I mean, there's a lot of interesting stuff hidden. Like, when you explore, there's a lot of unspoken lore that's just very obvious, but never like explicitly said. Like, there's a little like kind of in the foothills of the volcano of Mount Death or Death Mountain.
Death Mountain.
There's this little house like tucked in a little crevice and all where you could tell somebody had settled in, and it's all burnt to the fucking ground. And there's a fire whiz robe dancing around it like an asshole. And you just know that like 100 years ago, he just killed like a family. There were probably kids in there and shit.
That's a nice little detail.
You know, stuff like the fucking Zonai stuff. You know, there's just hours of videos of people like speculating what the deal with the Zonai was. You know.
The spoiler for that is the Zonai are intentionally supposed to be a mystery. The name literally translates to a pun for mystery in Japanese.
I remember the first time I saw one of the dragons too. Like I was already off the Great Plateau, but I was back on it. I was like fucking around trying to get some supplies, you know what I mean, looking for some mushrooms and for, you know, I think I was trying to get some more honeycombs. And so I'm off in that one section of the Great Plateau where you can overlook Lake Hylia, and I see this fucking dragon coming out of the water, and I'm just like, what is that? Holy fuck.
Something new.
You know, and it was still early in the game too. I'm like, what is this fucker's deal? Like, what is that thing? So I head over to the bridge, you know, and I'm not even fighting the Lizalfos on there. You know what I mean? They're like, you know, trying to follow me. I'm like, leave me alone. I got some. Not now. You know, I'm trying to get out there and paraglide onto it. And my first thought is, I'm gonna get on that fucker, right? Well, yeah, that don't work.
Nope.
And I'm like, what are you supposed to do to him? Like, I remember shooting him and getting the dragon scale and shit. I really like that side. I guess it's technically a side quest, but it's almost something you really should do, where you get the malice off of the ice dragon.
Yeah.
That one's cool as fuck. That's a better boss fight than any of the boss fights.
Yeah. Kind of like the concept of the malice, but even though it's kind of out of left field. I don't know if they're gonna even do anything with that, but I kind of like the idea of like this cosmic sludgy mold that just slowly seeps into the world when someone gets pissed off enough.
I just kind of like the idea of it because it's been so long down the timeline. Ganon is just degenerated into just a fucking rage machine.
Yeah,
Like,
that's something
just-
I don't really care for, but
He's just fucking that pissed off now. Which I think they're probably going to undo in the sequel. I think they might actually like restore more of his fleshed out personality. Like what we.
that's
what
something
we were-
I'd appreciate.
My guess for the sequel is what we were calling Ganon was just malice pouring out of him. It
Yeah.
was literally just his rage pouring out of his fucking mummy. I guess is under the castle or something.
I mean, a lot of the way they've changed Ganon, that all kind of started in Skyward Sword, where have you played Wind Waker?
I've not. That's one of those ones where I just can't get past the art style.
Yeah, I'm the same boat.
I don't
with- no
mind
pun,
the art-
no pun intended. Same boat as you.
I don't, and that's the other thing.
But-
I just the idea of just sailing around a fucking just a fucking water all the time. Like I'm like, okay, that's not like swimming underwater exploring sounds fun, but just sailing around, it's like nah, pass.
No,
I just
Wind
can't
Waker
get
is
into it.
ass, but Wind Waker's ass. But there's one thing about it I did like is they actually they gave a backstory to Ganondorf and his motivation and everything. And basically, you find out the Hylians fucked over the Gerudo, his people, kind of like they were dying in the desert, and so he's like, "Well, I'm gonna screw over the Hylians for ruining my people. I'm gonna take the Triforce and conquer Hyrule or whatever." So they gave him a bit of backstory, and then in Skyward Sword, they kind of undid that, and you find out that Ganondorf is just kind of like a curse that Demise put on the royal family. So if the royal family ever gets power, Ganondorf will just spawn, he'll just appear and fuck things up. So
I
he kind of like
kinda
lost
feel
his free
like-
will.
I kind of feel like Ganon and Demise are two separate entities, though.
They
Like
I-
Demise uses Ganon, but I feel like Ganon probably feels like he uses Demise.
yeah, honestly, I feel like Ganon and Ganondorf are two different beings.
that's
That's kind of the
sort
vibe I always got.
That's sort of Ganon just losing his shit. That's sort of just Ganon
Yeah.
kind of. That's drunk Ganon, I guess, for lack of a better term. That's Ganon, just Ganondorf, just drunk on evil magic. Just,
Yeah.
Let me tell you something about you that you don't know.
I guess the point was the dehumanizing or the turning Ganondorf into like a mindless kind of blob started in Skyward Sword.
Like I've never kind of bought the idea that Zelda is the goddess. Like I just feel like the goddess just sort of empowers her and lives in her, but like I'm not even
That's
sure.
another thing
They sorta
Skyward
even-
Sword introduced.
They sort of even well, yeah, I know that was in Skyward Sword. I know the lore, but I just sort of feel like it's very clear. Like even the reincarnation thing is only kind of metaphorical. I mean, like Link is not the same person throughout the it's not a strictly speaking reincarnation because I know for a
Yeah.
fact I think in Twilight Princess you fight the ghost of another Link.
Yeah, from Ocarina of Time.
So then it's obviously not really that's not how reincarnation works. You are that
I
ghost.
agree.
Like it's not how it works. And then supposedly the old dude in Breath of the Wild or not Link Between Worlds, I think he's like only there to like help you do multiplayer or something. Like that's the only time you can really
I don't remember that guy.
But he's supposedly an old Link. Like there's a
Oh.
lot of people that have like there's a lot of strong hints that he's another Link from like 100 years ago and he's just old as fuck. So yeah,
Yeah.
the reincarnation thing is sort of there's a certain spirit of I guess literally just the Triforce energy that just goes through each one of them, but they're not the same person over and over again. Like it's clearly not.
Yeah. They kind of try and make it seem like Ganondorf is the same one in every game, but Zelda's clearly not the same princess in every game. Her personality is so different in different games.
In Zelda 2, the Zelda that you're trying to waken up is actually a older Zelda that was put in
Yeah.
a sleeping spell. It's not the one you saved in
It's
the
not
first
the
one.
one from the first
So
game.
there are
There's
two-
two Zeldas running around at the
There
same
are
time.
two Princess Zeldas that have this magic fucking, power. It's still alive at the same time.
Yep.
Ah.
Yeah, the lore in that series is kind of a mess. I guess that happens with any really long running series, I guess.
Well, they didn't really have any. I still contend. like early on when I was just starting to get back into it, because again, I had only played the 2 on the NES, and then like I'm getting back into games. I just figured every one that wasn't a direct sequel was like a different universe, like a, you know, because I mean I'm used to comic books where you'll just have a billion fucking side universes, nobody cares. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
I feel like that's what they're doing
We'll
now.
have an Elseworlds where Batman is a pirate. Like, fuck it. Why not? Sure, that's fine.
Because why not?
You, sure, we wanted to sell an action figure. Well, yeah, everyone was like, "Oh, Breath of the Wild was supposed to be like." I heard a fan theory that Breath of the Wild was literally the 3 universes combined, like some
The whole
Crisis on
convergence
Infinite
thing.
Earths kind of thing. Like they got mashed together, and there's literally chunks of each one, and then like eons passed, and no one remembers that there were. But then then they do time travel again for Calamity Warriors, which they swear is canon. And now, in all
It's all
fairness,
split again.
I really like the idea of time travel splitting timelines. Like, instead of changing the past or being a loop, because, like, being a loop, like, say, like Terminator 1, that's kind of depressing. That's deterministic, you know? I mean, it's less of a paradox, or I should say it's a more stable paradox than changing the past, but it's still kind of deterministic. And then anytime you change the past, it's just this giant fuck you logic puzzle that seems like it should destroy all reality. So I very much like the idea of time travel creating alternate timelines. Marvel Comics was the first popular fiction thing I ever saw that did that. And honestly, aside from Zelda, I can't think anything else that just goes with. I like doing that more. You don't have to worry about keeping things consistent. You don't have to worry about, you know, like, look at how badly the Terminator movies have fucked everything.
Well, the Terminator movies eventually, I think, branched off into multiple universes, but it was like way too late at that point, I guess. I mean, Star Trek flirted around with the whole infinite parallel universe thing a few times.
I like that better than the idea of changing the past, because again, it just doesn't logically work to me.
I personally don't think I have an issue with I as long as it's done well.
Well, I mean, I can still enjoy the movie. Like, I'm not gonna go Arini and be like, "Oh, I don't, I think it's stupid," and therefore I'm gonna cross my arms and not appreciate the movie. Like, I remember Arini bitching about Marvel movies. It's like, I can't enjoy it until I know the tensile strength of Hulk's arm. It's like, shut up, nerd. It's not what this is
It's
about.
weirdly autistic for someone who complains about nerd stuff.
It's just stupid. Exactly how strong is the Hulk? I don't get it. Like, that's not the point, okay? So, like,
And we're talking about a man who thinks agriculture's evil.
I can enjoy the Back to the Future movies, for example, and holy shit, are there plot holes in that, even according to its internal logic. I actually think. Okay, like, how come? It's been a while since I've seen this, so maybe the answer if I sit down and watch it again. But in Back to the Future 2, old Biff goes back in time. He steals Doc's DeLorean, goes back in time, gives the almanac to his younger self, comes back to the unaltered 2015.
Yeah. I don't know how that works.
Doc leaves the unaltered 2015 to find an altered 1985. And they say, well, why don't we just go back to 2015 to stop Biff from going back in town? No, we can't do that because it will be the altered 2015. Then how the fuck did Biff get back to an unaltered 2015? Like, that's not even following your own internal logic.
That's a goof up.
But you know what? That's not what the movie's about. Okay, the movie is about
I agree.
a family fucking drama over the course of generations, you know, and lovable characters disguised as a goofy time travel movie. Okay, so
I think the fact that it's a comedy probably helps a lot too.
Is terrible because of this plot hole. Is autistic. Now, when I was a kid, I immediately picked up on that, and I'm like, this is stupid, because you're a kid and you expect it to be real, even though it's a movie. And the moment you see through it, you're like, I'm smarter than this movie. Well, congratulations.
Back to the Future is great.
Like, those are great movies, but yeah, big old fucking plot hole in the second, for example. And also, I'm just going to say, the third one is a big letdown. Okay, I don't give a fuck about cowboys. All right, of all the fucking things you could go, of all the things a time travel story allows you to do, let's do cowboys. All right, thanks, very cool. Like, you
I
couldn't
would
do
say the third
dinosaurs
one's
or
my
some
least
shit?
favorite. Dinosaurs would have been awesome.
Oh, these are cowboys. Okay, thanks, cool. Couldn't go back to
Or
like the
cowboys
30s.
and dinosaurs.
Couldn't go back to like the 30s and do some gangster shit. You know what I mean? You'd be like, no, you're gonna do cowboys. Like, cool, thanks. That's great.
Yeah, I
And
would
all
say
the
the third
boomers were
one's the
like,
biggest
yay,
of those.
cowboys.
The boomers.
God, boomers love their fucking westerns. God damn, they love their fucking westerns. I'd count on one hand the amount of westerns I've ever fucking enjoyed.
Yeah. I think True Grit, the new one's like probably the one I like the most.
I like Unforgiven. I
Yeah,
like
Unforgiven.
I like Maverick starring Mel Gibson. That's an underrated Mel Gibson movie. But that's
I
just
haven't
'cause
seen
Mel
that
Gibson
one.
is really fun and charming.
I love Mel Gibson. I'm kind of sad he kind of fell out of the movie industry for as long as he did. Although he's making another Christ movie.
He made a movie called Fat Man, which I haven't seen, where he's like a grizzled Santa. It's like it's like Santa Claus if he was in Gran Torino.
That
It's
sounds
so
like
weird.
it could be an awesome premise.
It looks awesome, but I didn't get around to seeing it. But I wanted to. I'm probably gonna check it out this coming Christmas season.
Yeah, I guess I'll check out Maverick. I've never even heard of that one.
Yeah, it's some goofy Western comedy thing he did in the '90s. It's pretty fun,
Huh.
but it's not fun because it's a Western. It's fun because Mel Gibson is fun. Like, that's when he was doing a lot of goofy, like, semi-comedy shit.
Yeah. Trying to think what my favorite Mel Gibson movie is. Probably Road Warrior.
I like the Lethal Weapon movies a good amount.
Yeah.
I like that movie
was
where
gonna
you
s-
could hear women's thoughts. That's kind of underrated.
I don't think I've seen or heard of that one.
It's
Which
like-
one's that?
It's called, I think it's called What Women Want, but like the whole premise is like he something happens to him and he can now hear the thoughts of women. Like and like some like he works at an ad company and this chick shows up and like comes up with all these good ideas and it's starting to like outshine him. But then after that happens to him, he just starts stealing her ideas before she can even get them.
I'll give that one a shot too. I guess I'll just open up his IMDb page one day and just go through his movies one by one.
His movies where he's being comedic are like insanely underrated. He is a very underrated comedic actor.
Yeah. I liked what was that movie? I think it was called Payback. Was it called Payback? It's some movie
Sounds
where
familiar.
it's like some crime boss like steals like $1,000 from Mel Gibson. And he's just going on this murderous rampage trying to get like the small amount of money back. And he's at the end and the guy is just like, what do you want? Like all my money, all my riches. Like, I just want my $1,000 back, you asshole. He like wants this really small amount of money. He's just like murdering all these people over such a small thing. I think it was called Payback.
I'll check that out. Mel Gibson's great. I really enjoy his stuff.
Yeah.
It's funny
Yeah,
when
I
he
should,
like shop the Passion of the Christ around. And he's like, so I want to make a Jesus movie on Easter, and it's like cool, like him rising from the dead. No, just the part where he gets brutally murdered. And everyone's like, no, I don't.
This is the point.
I don't think anybody wants to see that, Mel. And he's like, fuck you, I'll make it myself. And he did, and it made $1 bajillion.
Yep. He's making The Harrowing of Hell now, which I'll go see whenever the hell that comes out. Sounds awesome.
He's one of the last guys in Hollywood that has a soul.
Yeah, a drunken soul, but a soul nonetheless.
Well, he's Catholic. He likes his booze.
Yeah. Oh well.
Yeah, I should watch Payback. I've heard good things about that. That is kind of striking a like ringing a bell.
That's one of the first Mel Gibson movies I saw when I was like 8 years old, too. My father let me watch all these movies I should not have watched when I was a kid.
Oh, I watched a lot of R-rated action movies. I'm a late '80s, early '90s kid, so R-rated action movies.
Yeah, same.
Like,
My father took me to see Starship Troopers in theaters when I was a kid. I think I was like 8 or 9. I have no idea why he did that. I remember seeing Starship Troopers again years later, and I was shocked he let me see that in theaters when I was a kid.
Or something. I remember my friend and I wanted to see that, and we couldn't get an R-rated ticket yet, so we literally bought like tickets to like Zorro or some shit. And then like I remember because we were with a bunch of friends, and some of them wanted to see Saving Private Ryan. So I'm sitting there with them waiting for Starship Troopers to watch. So I watched like the beginning scene of Saving Private Ryan, like the whole Normandy scene, which is the only part worth watching in my humble opinion. The rest of it's just kind of a generic who gives a fuck war movie. But that's an amazing shot scene. So then now I was like, well, time to go watch Starship Troopers, and I still contend I made the better choice.
You did. Starship Troopers is an awesome movie.
Like, yeah, when I was like 7, I remember seeing like Total Recall in theaters and shit like that.
I only just saw Total Recall for the first time like 2 weeks ago.
Fucking chick with the 3 boobs in it and stuff.
The movie's great. Also, when I was a kid, my father showed me RoboCop. That was awesome.
RoboCop kicks ass, yeah.
That movie's probably in my top 5 favorite movies, and the second one's pretty great too.
You know, I just watched 2 and 3 a couple weeks ago because I was like, I kind of realized like I think I had seen them, but I didn't really remember anything about them. And even 3 isn't as bad as everyone says. Like
3's just a little boring,
and the effects are pretty bad, and the guy playing RoboCop just doesn't even sound the same. Like you literally just had to find a guy that sounded the same. You can't see him. You can't see him at all. You just had to find a guy with the same voice. And the moment he says a thing, I'm like, that's not RoboCop. But other than that, it's fine. It's pretty goofy and over the top. There's some like ridiculous shit in there. Like when he's flying around in the jetpack, it looks so fucking awkward. But at the same time, I feel like it would. You know what I mean? I feel like it would just look really stupid.
It's like a flying tank.
Like he comes crashing through the window without a hint of grace at the end when he's about ready to kill that guy. Like that whatever shitbag, I don't know, CEO guy or something he wants to kill. He comes crashing through that window with not a shred of grace and dignity. And it's fucking amazing. I don't know why, but like I saw that and I just burst out laughing. I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah, I like the second one a lot because it's so absurd. Just the scene when they're showing all the new RoboCops and they're all just killing themselves. It's so funny. I also love how the second RoboCop, like it's called RoboCop 2, and it's called RoboCop 2 because they literally build a RoboCop 2 in the movie.
Frank Miller wrote that. He wrote the third one too, but he supposedly claims that his scripts they were mangled all to hell and back. So he says, like, that's not exactly what I wrote, but he was the screenwriter for both of those movies.
It wouldn't surprise me if they warped it. Actually, if I remember right, they brought out a comic a few years ago where it was his actual RoboCop 3 script.
I heard it was a RoboCop 2. I remember Boom did that.
RoboCop 2. But, yeah, I haven't read it, but I heard about that.
I gotta say, man, RoboCop 2, I've never been like more excited to watch a child die. Like, that kid was such a shitbag. That kid was such a shitbag. I'm like, the whole movie, I'm like, shoot the fucking kid. Like, if I was there, I'd be like, just give me the gun, Murphy. I'll do it. All right?
That's why the second movie's awesome.
Shithead. They try and make him all sympathetic when he's dying. Like, oh, it's like, no, fuck you. Fuck you. Eat a bag of dicks, you little shit.
Yeah, the RoboCop 2 is pretty great. I also think the kind of stop motion effects in the second one were a lot better than the first one. Like all the effects on RoboCane were pretty great.
Oh, speaking of villains, you can't wait to watch die. Have you ever seen the Mel Gibson movie, The Patriot? The Patriot?
Yeah. Yep.
That one British
Yeah, the
cocksucker in there.
Revolutionary War one.
That one British cock. That is one of the shittiest motherfuckers, and he keeps getting away with being a reprehensible shitbag in such an infuriating way throughout that movie. You just want you're about ready to throw a fucking glass at the TV or something. You're like, this motherfucker. And then when he finally dies, it is the most satisfying death. It's like, yes, that fucker. Like,
He is probably like one of the most irredeemable villains I could think of in a movie. I don't even remember his name. I just remember he's played by the same actor in that shitty Star Trek show.
just fucking, just such a dirtbag. Just such a, without a bit of charm or likability to him. Just everything about him. You want every part. You wish he could die twice.
Yep.
Like you wish you could.
Well, I can just rewind it and watch him die over and
You
over
wish you
again.
could get some EMT guys to revive him so you could kill him again.
Yeah.
Somebody in the chat says there's a scene with Lucy Liu in A Dominatrix Get Up and Payback. I mean, that sounds kind of nice, but Lucy Liu is pretty fucking ugly, in all fairness. That is not a particularly attractive woman. Now, granted, I don't particularly find Asian women that attractive. I'll grant that. They got them flat faces. They look like bulldogs. I don't care for it. I guess I'm not alt-right enough. I don't like cat boys or Asian women, so... The villain in The Patriot is the original Sam Hyde. He kept getting away with it. Somebody says,
I think I just watched The Patriot like 2 or 3 months ago, not that long ago.
Somebody says, Last American Virgin or American Beauty. I like American Beauty, but I don't think I've heard of Last American Virgin.
I don't think I've heard of that one either.
I like American Beauty, though. That's a pretty damn good movie.
Yes, I don't know. Maybe maybe I'll give it a shot.
American Beauty is like peak pre-9/11 America, too. Everybody...
Is that the one with Kevin Spacey?
Yeah, everybody rich and bored.
Oh yeah, okay, I know what movie that is. Then
Like,
yeah.
it is so pre-9/11. Pre-9/11 America. God, I miss it. God, I miss it.
Yeah.
It's only in recent years I realized just how badly the Patriot Act fucking killed us. Like, all this deplatforming shit, all the banks can shut off your fucking PayPal and stuff. That's all the Patriot Act. That's the reason that shit could happen.
Yeah, it all goes back to that. It's
Fucking W killed this country. He killed this country.
yeah, it's pretty sad. The whole political situation is just absurd now. It's like all a huge joke.
Yeah, there's basically a corpse as president now. A corpse with 40,000 soldiers guarding it as president.
I never would have expected the Inca Empire to come back in that way.
And nobody cares. Everybody just goes about their days.
That's what's so weird about the whole thing to me is, yeah, no one seems to care. They're just like, oh, yeah, we have a zombie as president, whatever.
Who cares? It's just...
Yeah, it's... To me, the saddest thing about the whole thing is no one will ever trust votes ever again. Like, the trust is just gone.
I don't know. Republicans need to get... Conservatives, if they would... I don't even want to say get some balls. Because it's not quite a cowardice thing. It really is just this deference to leadership and that kind of stuff. The thin blue line, I love my cops, and all this other gay shit. Like, get over your fucking authority worship. This country wasn't founded by good little boys who wanted to play by the rules. This country was founded by a bunch of pot-smoking drunks who burnt down the docks because they taxed their tea. Okay?
Yep.
Like, that's the spirit that needs to come back. None of this, we love our cops. Fuck cops. Like, yeah, I just saw something the other day. I guess it was an interview with one of the cops that was on the scene when Tupac was killed, right? So this cop, as Tupac is lying there dying, goes up to him and is trying to get information like, oh, who shot you? And you know what Tupac did? He looked this guy right in the eyes and goes, fuck you. And died. Like, just fuck the police to the bitter end. And you know what? like, could I saw right wingers sharing that? Look at this fool. They're like judging him, and I'm like, fuck, he's more of a man than you. All right.
Certainly more
right-wingers-
American.
If right wingers had that fucking attitude, you'd solve this shit in a day. You should still be in the Capitol. They should still be trying to get you out of that building. But no, it's like we'll have a hissy fit and then you walk away. Like motherfucker,
That's
if
the
you
thing
shoot
I
the
find,
king,
like-
you better kill the king. If you're gonna do it, do it. All right.
That's the thing I find so, I guess, ironic about the whole thing. Like, the kind of opposition to the left, if all they did was just, if they were just a little bit more aggressive, it would all just like crumble.
Would just
Because the left can't fight at all.
if conservatives just got over the fucking cop and the military worship and all this other dumb shit, they'd solve this. And just get over the fucking authority worship. Stop looking for fucking daddy to tell you what to do. Okay, you just fucking get some agency about you. Become ungovernable, and that'll be the end of it.
That all goes back to Bush.
Somebody,
I mean, I guess it comes before that, but
somebody in the chat says Last American Virgin is like Scott Pilgrim. Well, I hated Scott Pilgrim. I fucking hated that movie. I hated that movie. So I remember renting that movie because, like, you know, I love retro games. I love nerd shit. Everybody was telling me it was really good. I'm watching that movie, and I'm like, I didn't even finish it, by the way. So maybe it gets good at the end. But, like, I remember, like, I had ordered a pizza, and it shows up, and I was watching that with, I think I was watching it with my dad or something. And it's like when we were done eating, it's like, well, what do we do now? It's like, I guess we finished watching that movie. And I'm like, let's not. Like, it was awful. It was honestly so bad. I am at a loss to even understand what parts of it are supposed to be funny. It's one of those things where I don't even know where the joke was supposed to be.
I don't know. I think the main character in that movie is pretty reprehensible. He's kind of he's a soy boy. Yeah, I didn't really like Scott Pilgrim that much.
I like that actor too. I liked him in a lot of stuff. Like, yeah, he's a goofy little dweeb, but he was charming in other things. But God, he's fucking awful in that. Every person in that movie is fucking terrible. But it's not even like you can have movies where every character is a shitbag and it's funny. You ever see the show Veep on like HBO?
No, I haven't.
It's this show where the Elaine from Seinfeld plays like a vice president. It's basically, imagine if like Hillary Clinton had been Obama's vice president. You have this first female vice president that hates the president. They don't even get along. And
That does sound familiar.
every character in it is a shitbag. And now I mean they're politicians, so that fits. But every character in there is portrayed as a shitbag. But it's funny. The fucking dialogue in it is amazing. Like, I will have to pause that show and go back and re-listen to stuff because it's just so fucking amazing.
There's
Like-
a few Tarantino movies where everyone's a shitbag, and it's pretty funny.
There's a scene in there where she was trying to figure out what the president was planning on doing. Like, I can't remember. She basically sent somebody. She had one of her aides like try and get information from some of the president aides on what he was doing, right? So
Yeah.
this guy gets all this information and it's all botched up, right? And she's yelling at him at the end of this episode. And she's like, where did you get this information? She's like, I got it from Bill, was the name of the other guy that he got it from. And she's like, you trusted Bill? Like, because that character was known as a retard. She goes, no. Getting information from Bill is like trying to use a croissant as a fucking dildo. And then she goes, like, he starts to say something. He goes, no. You don't understand. It doesn't do the job, and it makes a fucking mess. God, that show is just fucking hilarious. And
What was
again,
it
like,
called again?
It was just called Veep, like VEEP.
I mean, it sounds familiar, but the name doesn't ring a bell.
I mean,
What
I
year
didn't
was
even
that
watch all
from?
of them or something. I just, when it was being rerun on HBO or something, I'd watch it. But God, it was funny.
It's from 2012. Yeah, I don't remember that one. Maybe I'll look into that. Yeah. So anyway, I guess that's why BOTW sucks.
Well, what Nintendo games do you like recently?
I think Smash Bros. Ultimate was pretty good.
I like that. I'm not happy with the DLC choices, but
Yeah, I don't like all the animes. The meme, the anime swordsman. I don't really like them that much, and none of them are from games I've even played.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of them I didn't know who the fuck any of them were when they came. Like, oh, here's fucking Tuxedo Mask from Persona. Cool.
It's sad. I know who Tuxedo Mask is.
Yeah,
I don't know who
Tuxedo
that. I
Mask
don't know.
too. I would recognize him if they stuck him in there. But at least I know who that is.
Yeah, but I didn't know who the hell the Joker guy was. I've never played Persona. I mean, to be fair though, like pretty much every character I could ever want was basically in the game at launch. Like, there's very few I could think of that I'd want added in the game.
I don't know. There's some.
Isn't there like 90 characters in the game now?
There's been pretty basic choices. I feel like just over like Crash and Spyro are pretty basic choices.
I love Spyro. I love that game back
I
in
mean,
the
I don't
day.
even like Crash, but I feel like he deserves to be in there. He's important enough.
Yeah.
I mean, you could stick some more Street Fighter characters in there. I wouldn't mind. Like Ryu is kind of the most boring fucking Street Fighter. I know he's sort of the main character of that series, but like, who the
Yeah.
fuck plays as Ryu? Like,
Not me.
give me M Bison or Blanca or something.
I feel like Chun-Li would have been better.
Like, I mean, you got Sonic in there. Tails and Knuckles would be obvious choices. Hell,
Yeah.
you can take Shadow. You know, you got Mega Man in there. Maybe get you know, Proto Man, Base.
More Mega Man characters.
Yeah,
Even more
Proto Man,
Metroid
Base,
characters
X
would be
or Zero,
nice.
You know,
I guess we got Ridley. I was saying more Metroid characters would be nice,
I
but
mean, it took him how long to get us a third Donkey Kong Country character in there? You could put Dixie or Funky or Cranky in there. They'd all fit.
yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing Morgan from Darkstalkers. That'd be a cool choice.
Yeah, that'd
I
be
mean,
cool.
It's sort of anime-ish, but it's at least interesting. It's not just yet another chick with a sword.
Make it Super Smash Marvel versus Capcom Bros.
There's a, you know, I wouldn't mind even like. There's a lot of Marvel vs. Capcom characters from that. Like stick Surbot as a fucking assist trophy. That'd be fun. There's a lot
Yeah.
of things that they could have just. I don't know. I don't know why the fuck they're picking the things they're picking. Like, the only one that I don't like, but I can admit is an iconic, important thing that probably earned a spot there is the Minecraft guy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like Minecraft at all. It's one of those things where I really feel like you goddamn kids with your gay fucking autistic games. But at the same time, I know who the fuck that is. You know, it's pretty iconic. I can't argue with that.
Yeah, I don't like Minecraft that much. I do know there's an insane amount of people that kept asking for stupid Minecraft Steve though, so
Yeah, I can understand that one, but like fucking Joker, fucking what was the fucking boob lady with the sword they put in just now?
from the
Who the
Xenoblade
fuck are these motherfuckers? Like, I'm sorry,
I don't know.
I
I
don't own a
suppose-
body pillow, so I don't know who any of these fucking people are.
supposedly the Xenoblade games are super popular. I mean, fun fact: a lot of the people that worked on the Xenoblade games also worked on Breath of the Wild. So there's a weird crossover there.
I remember. I think there's an armor set you get in Breath of the Wild. It's part of the DLC, but you have to be in certain spots, and like the chest will come down as a meteor. And I think it's from Xenoblade.
Yeah.
It looks like shit, and I never wear it, but it was kind of fun to go get them. Like when I first saw the first one, it was like, oh, it was a cool discovery. A fucking red meteor comes down, and you get a fucking hat or something. But like that armor set looks like shit.
Have you heard of Jesus?
Yeah.
It looks fucking awful. It's like, is this what characters look like in this fucking game? Because I don't want to play it then.
They look. Yeah, Xenoblade is just it's weeb garbage. That's all I can say about it. Have you heard of Donkey?
Yes, I recently
He has an amazing video on Xenoblade.
he did a video on the recent Nintendo Direct where he was just making fun of how it was like weeb shit. You know, he was like it was Mario Golf and weeb shit.
That was a pretty rough direct.
Duke of Tumwater says best Tarantino movie. Well, that's Pulp Fiction by a wide margin. I mean, that's not even a debate.
I like Django Unchained a lot,
Kill
but
Bill's all right, but it's one of those movies where I enjoyed watching it, but I never felt the need to watch it again. A lot of his movies are like that, where it just feels like it's fun for like a single watch through, but then you're done with it. But I'm down to watch Pulp Fiction again, like anytime. If I'm hanging out with somebody who's like, hey, and we're flipping through like the fucking Netflix or something, you going to watch Pulp Fiction? I'm like, hell yeah, let's watch Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see if he'll ever get his dumb Star Trek movie made.
So he says, even if you hadn't, I think he's talking about Cloud. Even if you hadn't heard him, a lot of I hadn't played Final Fantasy. A lot of gamers know him. Yeah, Cloud's one of those. I don't dispute that Cloud deserves to be in there. Cloud is very iconic. Like I never played Final Fantasy VII. I don't like Final Fantasy. The only Final Fantasy game I ever really played was Tactics, like more than a little bit, and gave up on it. I like Tactics a lot though, but I recognize Cloud out of the corner of my eye. Of course he's iconic. Of course he belongs there.
Yeah, I don't like Final Fantasy VII that much.
I kind of felt like, and I guess this isn't what they were doing, but I always thought that to be a third-party character in Smash meant something. Like you were an iconic, important character in the history of this medium.
Yeah.
And it's just apparently not that anymore. You know? Now, yeah, I understand Nintendo's going to put, like, their fucking goofy, no one gives a fuck first-party characters in there. Like, but I always thought to have a third-party slot, you had to be kind of important. And at the moment Joker was in there, I was like, I guess not.
Yeah, I got that vibe too, but honestly, to me, Smash Bros is I think they intend for it to just be a goofy game for people to get drunk and have fun with. That's the vibe I get now.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably next time I fire it up get Banjo, but that's the only DLC I'm getting. I got the Piranha Plant because I had bought the game when it first came out and I got him for free, but I might have bought him anyways because he's fun. The Piranha Plant is a lot of fun. He's such a great troll character. He looks so smug all the time. He looks so... I don't know how they got so much expression out of a face that doesn't have a nose or eyes, but damned if those animators didn't. He looks smug as fuck all the time.
Yeah, it's all about the animation.
And that move, the move where he like spins around and like kind of helicopters up into the air, you can juggle motherfuckers pretty relentlessly with that. Like, you can really piss some people off too, because you could get them into a pretty good juggle and loop. Like, it's easy to break out if you really know what you're doing, but against another casual player, you can juggle the fuck out of them with that. And it's just every time they start coming down, you start doing it again. And it really pisses people off that this fucking goofy plant is spinning through the air and juggling them.
I've always liked a lot of the troll characters. They always put one new one in with each game. Like, I remember in the first one, it was basically Jigglypuff.
I'm a big fan of fighting games not being quote-unquote balanced. I like fighting games that have overpowered motherfuckers and then just, like, complete dog shit characters. Like, I have fond memories of my roommates and I having 3-on-3 Surbot battles in Marvel vs. Capcom 2, because it's like, this character just does no fucking damage. It's like throwing feathers at each other.
Historically, most fighting games have always been unbalanced, and one of the reasons I kind of like that is because if you're playing as a weaker character, it kind of forces you to be creative against one that has a strength advantage.
That's why if it were up to me, if there was a Smash Brothers tournament, everybody gets assigned a random character. Like, or better yet, like, you have to just pick a different character each time you play, and you can't pick the same one again until you've cycled through them all. Like, I'm tired of seeing the same motherfuckers edge guard with Fox all the time. It's fucking old, all right? Like, no, you have to be Paichu. How about that?
Good luck. Yeah. I really did like Smash Ultimate. I liked it way more than the fourth one. But
I used to love getting like a character that could do some just cheap bullshit and just really pissing people off. Like Cable in Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Like, you could get somebody into a loop of just shooting the fuck out of them. Or like, I remember in high school, my buddy had rented X-Men Mutant Academy for the PS1. And if you played as Wolverine and you got somebody,
have you heard of Jesus?
If you hit them with their claws, they would go up in the air. And if you timed it just right to hit them again as they come down, they're fucked. There's no getting out of it.
It's basically Tekken in a nutshell.
Ah. So he says, who is the most OP Smash character and why is it Meta Knight? I don't know about that. I couldn't really tell you who the OP one is in there.
I don't know if Meta Knight's still OP. In Brawl, he was OP because of the way one of his attacks worked. The one where you hold it down and he just like slashes nonstop. I don't know
I'm
who
still
the most
pretty.
OP
I'm
is
pretty
now.
fucking good with Piranha Plant. I feel like Piranha Plant has some OP shit in him. I really feel like you can juggle the fuck out of people and really get people stuck in a loop.
Maybe. In Brawl, you could juggle a lot with Zero Suit Samus. I'd play as her a lot. That one up B move where she launches the whip up into the air, you could get people stuck in that if you timed it right. Or I don't remember the exact button. It's been a while since I played that one, but
I remember the tripping thing in Brawl. I kind of like that. I like the
and
random
Brawl
elements.
is my favorite one.
I like the random elements in fighting games. Like I can't stand it when autists are like, no, it's just not fair. It's like life's not fucking fair. All right. Like
I mean, people
sometimes
can trip
Lady
in a
Luck-
basketball game.
Yeah, sometimes Lady Luck pisses on you. You gotta fucking deal with it. It's like a microsecond too. It costs you like no fucking time really. It just trips you up a little bit. And it's like, yeah, but everything has to be like clockwork. That's the fucking autist thing. Everything has to be like fucking clockwork. Everything
Then
has
that's
to
not
be an
skill.
exact-
That's just memorization.
Everything has to be an exact formula that you can fucking exploit. It's like, no, how about there's some random shit? How about that's part of the game? How about you being able to think on your feet and recover from setback is part of the fucking game?
Yeah. I don't like the Smash tournament community. Like 10
That's-
years ago when Brawl came out, I tried to I participated in some of them and they weren't fun at all.
You know what it looks like to me half the time when you get some of these two autists playing, it's always with fucking Melee. These two autists that know exactly how to fucking break the goddamn game in Melee. You know, it's basically like watching two AIs play fucking tic-tac-toe. You know what I mean? It's just
Because they do the same thing over and over
Yeah,
again.
it's just two spurgs edge guarding the fuck out of each other. It's like, shut up. Like, go get a shower. All right.
I think I haven't played Melee in almost 20 years.
They literally, at one of these Smash tournaments, I think it was like 2 years ago. I think it was like 2019. They literally accused this guy of cheating because while he was playing, his girlfriend came and just like put her hands on his shoulders and was kind of like, "Oh, you're doing good." Like having a girlfriend is OP in a fucking Melee tournament.
It's not cheating, it's just a power up.
We
I
were
have
like-
to admit, though, watching some of those compilations of like people getting pissed off and like smashing their TVs and controllers at Smash tournaments are really funny to watch.
You don't like items. Fuck that, man. Should be more items. I want more items. I want assist trophies that just spring open on their own and attack everybody. I want more stage hazards. I want more random bullshit. It just comes out of nowhere and kicks your feet out from under you.
It's too bad they didn't get Eternal Darkness or a character from that game into Smash Brothers when it was relevant, because a funny random thing it could do is shut the game off and then pretend to erase your save data. That would have been great.
I remember.
There's this.
I remember in high school, my friend had a wrestling game on a PS1, and he's one of these guys that when you make a character, he makes himself. Which, by the way, I love this guy to death. He is still, to this day, my best friend in the world. That's fucking gay. That's fucking gay. I still contend it's fucking gay, okay? Like, I make ridiculous shit that has nothing to do with me when I make a character. I try to make the Joker or the Hulk or something from, like, popular fiction, or I make, like, a hot redhead chick, or I'll make like a British rocker or something. Like I'll go through the voices and like look at like what the pre-established voices are and start thinking of. I just make something that has nothing to do with me. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
but he's like made himself as a wrestler, and so I made the most ridiculous bullshit I could. I made for some reason you could have a dinosaur mask, like a velociraptor head on your guy. There wasn't the rest of the body. I don't know why that was in there. But I made this fat black guy who was wearing high heels and samurai armor and a dinosaur mask. and he had a mop as a weapon, and he came out to the Ho Train music from the Godfather wrestler, and just the most ridiculous bullshit, right? So
Yeah.
we have a match, and I proceed to dumb Lux take his fucking title. He was so mad. He was so ass blasted mad that the next day I was like, I like turned it on, like, come on, let's play again. And he had gotten his title back and deleted my character. Just angrily deleted it. I was like, I don't want to play anymore. You know? Like,
Well, now I know what kind of character you play in fighting games.
I love playing troll characters. I love playing goofy shit like that.
Yeah. I would goof around with the ice climbers a lot back in Brawl because there's a lot of really cheap things you could do with the ice climbers back in that game.
Every time I play with a buddy too, like on Smash, I always set it to be like fucking 8-person brawl, even though it's just me and him playing. It's like, no, I want as many things out here as possible. We're gonna pick 6 fucking CPU characters.
Highest difficulty setting.
Yeah, just it's OP, and it's just like Paichu.
All
fucking-
items on high.
I will actually turn the items onto being sometimes like just assist trophies and Pokeballs, so that every item brings another character onto the fucking stage.
I actually remember when the first Smash Bros came out, I was actually playing it with my uncle like fucking 25 years ago. And I remember I set it so it was nothing but Pokeballs. And he had never played the game before, so he thought that was the game. And he's like, I hate this game. It's too random and I can't do anything in it. I ended up playing Demolition Derby instead. But yeah, yeah.
I don't know, and then you just get the guys who's like, no, they take it seriously, and they're like, oh, just fucking shut up.
Yeah, I do think they're missing the point when
Have you heard of Jesus?
when they play it and they think of it that way. I mean, if they want to play it that way and they have fun playing it that way, then I'm not gonna argue with that, I guess. But I do feel like the point of that game is for a bunch of little kids to argue about characters and then have fun, and then for a bunch of people to get drunk at a party. And I don't know. I see it more as a party game than a fighting game.
Yeah, I see. It's the same way. It's like the point of this game is to watch Mario and Sonic punch each other. I mean, that's the point of it, all right?
It's literally a video game version of, the kids arguing on the playground what character is stronger.
I want to watch Mario and Sonic punch each other in a fucking Pokemon Stadium while Tetris music plays. That's the fucking point of the game.
Yeah.
Duke
I'll be
of
back in
Tumwater
just a
sends
second.
All right. Duke of Tumwater sends $1. He says, why does the Libertarian Party and libertarianism in general attract so many weirdos and locals? What can libertarians do to become a serious political force in the country? I really don't think I would say liberty-minded people, small L libertarians need to fucking get in the Republican Party at the local level and try and do it that way. Now, that's, assuming we have elections. That's a whole different, can of worms. But, yeah, I don't think the Libertarian Party is where it's at.
All right, I'm back. Sorry about that.
Somebody says, I remember when I played Melee as a kid and thought it was just a super fun game to not take super seriously. Yeah, well, basically, there's a lot of... Melee's not a bad game, but there's a lot of ways that a lot of autistic fucking people 10 years my junior have figured out how to break that game in just a perfect way. And that's why they won't let it go. They won't fucking get to any of the other ones. Somebody says Nintendo actively wants people to see it as a party game. That's probably why they always discourage the competitive scene. I mean, I don't blame them. Like, honestly, look, Nintendo's kind of shitty, and the DMCA takes downs and the fucking cease and desist shit. I'm not defending that and all. But at the same time, I can understand why if I was the fucking company that was making Super Smash Brothers games, I wouldn't necessarily want that to be associated with a bunch of competitive autists who don't shower. Like, I can definitely understand why that's not necessarily something you want your brand associated with. Like, in all fairness to them, I could definitely understand why that's not necessarily the thing you want. Like somebody literally shitting their pants while playing Melee is at a tournament is maybe not something you want your happy fun game about Sonic punching Mario to be about.
Yeah, I agree. I don't really like a lot of the Nintendo fandom in general. I don't seem to relate to them at all.
I mean, at least it's not the Sonic fandom.
Yeah, the Sonic fandom's just pure autism.
I actually won't even call myself a Sonic fan anymore. I have a great soft spot for elements of that franchise. Like Sonic 3 and Knuckles is to this day one of the best 2D platformers ever made. I have a strong soft spot for the old cartoon, Princess Sally, and the comic book that came from it. But then I step back and I'm like, that's basically all I like. Like, I like the old classic games. I like Mania, because it's just that again. I like some of the later 2D games. The best 3D Sonic games are at best okay. You know, at fucking best. You know, most of them are just fucking balls. You know, no other cartoon has been any fucking good. The whole fucking franchise is just cringe. It's just fucking horribly cringe. And yet there's these two elements of it I just consider just perfect, just awesome shit. But there are also two elements of it the people that own it don't want anything to do with. You know, so, okay, I guess this just is not for me anymore. I've just sort of accepted the fact that I'm probably never, maybe I'll buy Mania 2. But other than that, I'm just not who you want to fucking sell this to. All right? You know,
I'm honestly amazed that that series still exists.
You clearly want to sell this to people who think adventure is fucking quality storytelling. So, okay.
I'm lucky I missed all the 3D Sonic games. Actually, I never really liked any of the Sonic games, even when I was a kid. I always thought the first Sonic was just really hard when I was a kid, and I didn't really like it that
Sonic
much.
is not that good. It's definitely rough in spots. Like Labyrinth Zone is fucking. I'll sit down and play Sonic 1 because I have a lot of ROM hack copies of Sonic 1 that have different characters in them. Like I've picked up.
Nice.
Like I like getting ROM hacks that you can find on carts that work on original hardware. That's really cool to me. So I have like versions of Sonic 1 where you could play as Kirby or Mighty or Princess Sally or one of those. And that's a lot of fun. It changes the game up. But I'll sit down and play through it, and it's like I get to Labyrinth Zone, and it's like, fuck, I don't want to play anymore. Like I'll just like shut it off sometimes, and then I'll go back to start like type in the code to level select, and I'll be like, let's go to Scrap Brain. Fuck Labyrinth Zone.
Sonic is just something I could never get into. The only Sonic game I ever beat was that stupid RPG on the Nintendo DS.
I mean, some of the
That
later ones
BioWare
are,
made.
like Sonic. I think it's Sonic Rush, the one that plays the cat. That one's pretty decent.
Have you heard of Jesus?
The advanced games are all right. Like I said, Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and again, that never gets re-released. Like occasionally, you'll see Sonic and Knuckles or Sonic 3 on a compilation, but the combined game, the actual what it was meant to be, that almost never gets re-released, and that's easily the best fucking Sonic game, and will probably always be the fucking best Sonic game. But it just never gets re-released, and then you combine that with the fact that, you know, the old Princess Sally cartoon and the comic and all that. That comic never even got a proper last issue before they fucking relaunched it with a different comic at IDW that was a spin-off of Sonic fucking Forces. So it's like, okay, so the two best things about this franchise are things that the fucking company in charge wants nothing to do with. So, okay, I'm just not going to buy this shit anymore. The last new Sonic game I bought other than Mania was fucking Lost World on the Wii U. And I thought, okay, it's probably not going to be anything special, but it's basically Mario Galaxy 2 with Sonic. How bad can it be? And I play it, and it's like, there's a fucking run button on a game about a character that runs fast when you have an analog joystick. That is so inexcusably retarded. Like, look,
By autists for autists.
if I want to just walk, how about I just push the joystick a little bit? You know, like how joysticks work and have since the butt fucking Atari.
I can't even think of a game from the
That-
last 25 years that had a button you had to press to walk.
It had a run button. Otherwise, Sonic Sonic walks slow as shit in that game unless you're holding the run button. And that pissed me off so much. I couldn't even get a refund because I opened it, but I literally just sold that back to my retro game store I bought it from. That fucking night. I'm like, no, fuck this. Fuck everything about this. People get used to it. I don't want to get used to it. I shouldn't have to get used to it. It's too stupid for fucking words. I'd rather go play Shadow the Hedgehog or Sonic Heroes on the PS2. And they both kind of suck, but they at least have their moments. That's the other problem with
Fucking
3D
run
Sonic.
button.
They're always fucking buggy as shit. Like, Sonic Heroes would probably be the best 3D Sonic game by a wide margin if it just had, like, another month of playtesting before they put it out. Like, there's so many times that just buttons don't register, there's fucking glitches, there's bugs, there's poor fucking controls. Like, just one more month of playtesting and you'd have had the best fucking 3D Sonic game.
Guessing they just rush those games out.
Yeah, because they don't care anymore. It's just like, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, they seem to make money, so I guess they don't have to care. I mean, it's just, the whole series has been going on for like, what, 30 years now? And it doesn't seem to want to die, so it must be making money.
Sonic Mania is good, though. But, I mean, you had to hire a fan to make that game. They literally had to hire a fucking fan game guy to make that game.
I can appreciate that.
And even it, I will not say is better than Sonic 3 and Knuckles because half of those levels are just remixes of old levels. They're very cool remixes, but it's like, oh wow, Chemical Plant Zone again. Fucking awesome. Like, I feel like a Sonic Mania 2 has the potential to be the best game in the franchise if we ever get it. But as of right now, Sonic 3 and Knuckles to this day remains the best game in that franchise, and it's a game Sega refuses to acknowledge the existence of. The closest thing to a Sonic 3 and a Sonic 3 re-release we've had in years is when Tiger re-released the Tiger game based on it.
Kind of reminds me of Majora's Mask. Like the people who made that game have tried everything they can to disown it.
Yeah, but no, fairness, you got a fucking remake on the 3DS not long ago.
Yeah, it was kind of broken though.
I will say the Ocarina of Time remake on the 3DS is fucking fantastic. That's probably the definitive way to play it.
Yeah.
It smooths the graphics up a little bit. There's a few markers in the water temple, making that less obnoxious.
I kind of appreciate the kind of spookier look of the old crappy N64 one, but to be fair, if you look at like all the artwork for Ocarina of Time, the 3DS remake does look like it's more what they were going for, I guess. Yeah, the Ocarina of Time one's not that bad of a remake. The Majora's Mask one, they made a bunch of questionable changes in it though. Actually, case in point, in the original Majora's Mask, if I remember right, you can just swim automatically when you're the Zora and you're just zooming around. But if I remember right, kind of like in the Sonic game, you have to like press down a button to swim fast or something. Yeah, I just know that the guy who made Majora's Mask, he considers it a mistake, which is a shame because I don't know. I think that's probably the best game he ever was involved in.
I like the lore behind it. The timer hanging over me just always kind of bugs me.
I can understand that. When I first played Majora's Mask as a kid when it came out, I actually hated it because of it was like so stressful. But when I came back to it in high school a few years later or whatever, I don't know, I liked it a lot more. And every time I go back to it, I seem to like it a bit more. I mean, it's a little bit clunky, but most N64 games are pretty clunky.
Oh yeah, it's I got the 3D All Stars Mario thing, and it's amazing how even Galaxy, some of the parts of it haven't aged well. Like, so used to manually controlling the camera all the time, and I used to prefer when they started doing the manual controlling the camera in games more. I actually kind of hated that early on. Like, I was like, just put it behind me. Like, I just want the camera to default behind me. I don't want to have to fucking worry about it most of the time. Like I kind of preferred the thing where the camera defaulted behind you unless you moved it. But I've just gotten so used to just moving the camera now. It's just kind of I have no problem with it. I think the
Yeah.
first game I really like got heavily into that I had to move the camera like all the time was Saints Row 2. And it did bug the fuck out of me early on in it. But you know, used to it.
Yeah. I miss a lot of those old games.
Saints Row 2 kicks ass. That's the first like Grand Theft Auto type game where I actually give a fuck about the story.
I never played the second one. I do remember when the third one came out, everyone made a big deal about it, but I never played the third one.
Lost interest in the third one. It's just one of those things where just like Saints Row 2, you know, you're rebuilding your gang from scratch and you're like living in the fucking sewers like the Ninja Turtles and shit. And it's like in Saints Row 3, I'm supposed to be this underdog, but like 4 missions into it, I have this fucking high-rise apartment and access to a hover jet with a laser gun. And I didn't type in no cheat codes or shit like this. Y'all didn't do this to me. Like,
Nice.
it's hard to feel like the underdog when I'm shooting people in a hover jet with a laser, blowing them away. Like, oh yeah, I'm a scrappy little underdog here.
Oh, maybe I'll check out the second one.
Somebody says Galaxy is still way better than 64 and Sunshine. Oh yeah, Galaxy's. You could maybe argue like Odyssey and maybe even Bowser's Fury kind of outdoes it, but Galaxy's still by far one of the best 3D Marios. I still don't.
There are a lot of
I don't
people say
buy the
that.
argument that like Galaxy 2 is better. It's like Galaxy 2 is a fucking expansion pack. Okay, it's a bunch of levels. They're fun levels, but it doesn't even feel like a. It just feels. Galaxy 1 feels like a genuine, coherent fucking universe. Like, albeit a magical one with cartoon logic, but it feels like a actual fucking thing. Galaxy 2 feels like a level pack. Like, it doesn't feel like anything but just here's some leftover levels we had.
I wouldn't be surprised if Galaxy 2 was originally supposed to be that.
It was supposed to be DLC originally, but then they just made it into a separate game.
Yeah. Nintendo's done that a few times where even Majora's Mask was supposed to be like an expansion pack for Ocarina of Time, and they're like, yeah, we'll just make it a new game and recycle some
Breath
of the...
of the Wild 2 was originally started as just another DLC
Yep.
pack. And they're like,
Yeah,
"No,
same
we're
thing
gonna make
there.
this another game."
So I wouldn't be surprised that the second one kind of just feels like an expansion pack, I guess.
I don't know. There's a few easy to add things that I feel like could really set it apart. Like keep the same map, but you know things are a little bit more rebuilt, and then add like more underground cave exploration, like the trailer hints to, just underwater exploration alone, and then maybe be able to switch between playable Link and Zelda with different styles or something. There's a few very basic things they could do without revamping that would make it feel very, very different. I don't know that they're going to, but it would be very, very easy to not have to rebuild that from the ground up, but have it be a very different experience.
Yeah, I mean, they pulled it off with Majora's Mask, even though that was... Gee, that was almost 25 years ago, wasn't it?
Oh, shit, probably. It was,
Yeah,
was that like 2000?
Yeah, it was 2000. It was 20 years ago. Shit. Still remember getting Majora's Mask on my birthday. My stupid friend thought it was Pokemon. I'm not far behind you.
God, fucking staring down 40 here. My God. 38 a couple days ago.
Huh.
Oh well. At least I have a job and I don't sit in the dark talking about being the king of Canada.
Thank God you don't think agriculture is evil. Yeah, some of those.
Proctor says Star Wars is bad. Well, I agree with you. It is pretty bad.
Yeah. The only real things with Star Wars I really enjoyed were some video games. I feel like the setting of Star Wars fits better for like video game stuff than movies.
I like the original trilogy. I think it's a touch overrated, but I like it. The prequels are ass. Everybody 10 years younger than me wants to tell me like, Like I was in Argent's stream once, and like whatever autist was on there with him was like the prequels are Kino, and it's like shut up.
No.
That was the moment when I was like, I should leave. Like this fucking kids over here Fortnite dancing, talking about the prequels. I don't want to be here. But it's like no, the prequels. Now, are the prequels better than the Disney movies? Yeah, in the same way that catching herpes is better than catching AIDS.
That's a fair comparison.
Like yeah, it's better. It's not good.
The behind the scenes stuff for the prequel movies is a lot more interesting than the actual movies.
Like there's interesting ideas in the prequels, which is more than you could say about the Disney movies, but they're not good movies. Let's be real.
They're not.
I mean, I like.
It's really hard
for The Mandalorian's good. Like, and I say that as someone with no emotional attachment to Star Wars. Like, I remember saying that, and somebody was like, "No, people just want Star Wars to be good again." I'm like, "Nigga, I don't care about Star Wars. I don't care if they ever make Star Wars stuff ever again." So you can't thrust that up. Like, they could literally announce tomorrow, "No more Star Wars ever again. Fuck you. We're not making another thing. In fact, the stuff we built in Disneyland, we're tearing it all down. We're not going to sell Star Wars stuff anymore. You can't buy it anymore. We're going to yank it off the streaming services. We're going to stop making it DVDs. Star Wars is now banned." And I'd be like, whatever.
Yeah, I honestly could live the rest of my life without another Star Wars thing ever again.
I say all that.
Notice.
With saying all that, The Mandalorian's a good show. There's no denying it. It's a good fucking show. Baby Yoda's
a lot of people seem to like it.
The Mandalorian's cool. The fucking hot chick that they fired is cool. Like, I'm sure season 3 is gonna suck, but season 1 and 2 are fun.
That's all you can really ask for these days and age, is just a show that at least is, I guess, fun. I guess.
Somebody says
Unlike
has been putting out a series on the prequels. I really like his stuff. He's one of the few people that will review Star Trek stuff, and like he likes Star Trek, but he sees through its bullshit, which is a very rare thing to get in a reviewer. Usually, you get some fucking autist who just swears up and down that Star Trek is a blueprint for a better fucking world, or you get some just person that's like just didn't grow up with it or something, or it's it's not anime or Warhammer, so they just cross their arms and say it's space communism and hate it. Like
it's not space communism. Everyone still has private property and families.
Yeah, it's not. Food. Okay, that's a pretty smooth brain take. Like Gene Roddenberry might have tried to spin it in that way, but no, it just like the people on the Enterprise don't need money because they have a cushy government job on the fucking flagship at the height of the fucking power of the Federation. Yeah, I guess they don't need money.
It's kind of like in the 90s, the average American could just blow away money and not go bankrupt.
Like, yeah, if you... A lot of guys on military bases barely use money.
Yeah, I miss some of the older Star Trek stuff. I really don't like STD at all.
I just will not acknowledge it.
It's
probably
pretty
give
bad.
that cartoon a shot, Lower Decks. Like, at some point, I'll probably sit down and watch it, because it's like, I'm okay with the idea of it. I'm okay with, we're going to take the piss out of Star Trek with, like, a Rick and Morty style cartoon. It might be kind of funny. But
I might give the cartoon a shot. My father said he liked it.
I'm not going to watch Picard. I already know enough about them to know that, like, there's just no redeeming qualities here.
I only saw the first episode of Picard, but I've heard some of the shit they've done. Like, if I remember right, they apparently turned Picard into an android.
Cool. That's awesome. It just didn't happen. Like, that's just not canon. Discovery is not canon. Picard is not canon. I just will not acknowledge it as canon. You can't make me, Paramount. That's the thing. You can't make me acknowledge this as canon.
Yeah.
You can never make me acknowledge those shows.
I don't even think the original people that made Star Trek own it anymore, so yeah, I don't know. Discovery was pretty crap. I only watched a few episodes and I gave up.
Like, yeah, I'm gonna sign up for another streaming service so I can watch you rape Gene Roddenberry's corpse. Like, didn't J.J. Abrams do that enough?
Yeah. I didn't really like his movies that much either.
I didn't like those, but you know what? Compared to Discovery, there, because I feel like those movies are bad because J.J. Abrams is a stupid hack, not because
Yeah.
not because he went on the set each day and was like, "Fuck Star Trek." But I feel
Yeah.
like everybody making Star Trek Discovery is like, "Fuck Star Trek."
It's honestly hard to tell what the hell they're thinking.
Like, isn't the chick
I've
in
heard-
charge of Star Wars now? Didn't she like say in an interview like Star Wars is gay? Like she just
I-
fucking hates Star Wars. That's like she's just
I wouldn't
running
be
it into the dirt
surprised.
on purpose.
I wouldn't be surprised. To be fair, it is kind of hard to gauge like what's accurate because there's so many people on YouTube who are just constantly shitting on everything. It's hard to tell like what's real or not anymore.
Somebody in the chat says Threshold is far from the worst Voyager episode. The Amelia Earhart episode was worse. That one was pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie. You know what? I will still
Threshold's
defend,
hilarious.
I will still defend Voyager though because Voyager is occasionally very good. I will make a statement now that a lot of people might fight me on, but I can defend it. Voyager is no worse than the original series
I think that's fair.
because like TNG and DS9 they had quality arcs. You know, they start out and they kind of peak somewhere towards the end and maybe taper off a bit. Like, you know, TNG probably peaked around season like 5. But it's and season 1 of TNG is dog shit. But you can chart a quality arc. Whereas with Voyager, it's all over the place. Like you can have an episode that's really good, and then you can have like Threshold as the next one. Like it's just up and down, and it's probably about 50-50 with good to bad on Voyager. And you know what? That's kind of what the original series was. Like everyone remembers your cities on the edge of forevers and shit, and mirrors and stuff like that. But y'all forget the time Spock smelled a flower and turned into a hippie.
The one thing about Voyager that I do like is even the worst episodes, they're so like hilarious and stupid that they kind of like loop back on themselves and they're really enjoyable. Like the one with the dinosaurs from Earth.
Oh God, that was bad.
It was so, you find out dinosaurs were like some civilization on Earth, and then they're like anti-evolution.
So that show on ABC, Dinosaurs, that's canon to Star Trek.
That's canon to Star Trek. Those are
That's
the
a
ones that
Star
got left
Trek
behind.
prequel. Everybody doesn't know that, but
I mean, funny thing is, if you look at the dinosaur aliens in Star Trek, they look like the same species of dinosaurs as the one from that show. They're like the hadrosaurs.
they accidentally.
That's my headcanon now.
God, that was bad. That was bad. But there were some really good ones, like that episode with the fear clown inside the computer.
That episode's amazing. That episode almost feels like it's straight out of the original series.
Or the Omega Directive was pretty fucking bitchin'. You know what I will defend in Voyager that everyone hates? I don't hate Neelix.
I don't really hate him
Neelix
either.
At all. Like everyone's like Neelix is annoying. I'm like, no, Neelix is annoying to the other characters, but he's not necessarily annoying me, like the audience. Like I actually find it really, really amazing when he's fucking with Tuvok.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
Because he doesn't know he's fucking with Tuvok. He thinks he's bringing sunshine and love to Tuvok's day. And Tuvok is having none of it. It's just having fucking none of it. That shit's pretty funny, man. Like, you want to talk about shitty Star Trek characters. Like, talk about fucking Wesley Crusher. Talk about the fucking doctor that replaced Beverly for a season. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, those are fucking terrible characters, all right?
Or even on Voyager, Neelix's girlfriend was way worse than he was.
Yeah, there was just nothing interesting about her. You know, like, she literally...
She's like a little hobbit that has telekinetic powers, I
gets
guess.
written out of the show and just no one misses her. Neelix barely fucking misses her.
Yeah, I don't think Neelix really bothers me that much. I don't think he's particularly interesting, but I do agree that his banter with Tuvok is really funny.
Neelix's problem is like when you try to center an episode around Neelix, that's fucking rough. But when you have Neelix in the background just being annoying and pissing everyone off, it's fucking hilarious.
I love that one episode when he's cooking Tuvok's breakfast, and then Tuvok is clearly getting annoyed. And he's just like, "Mr. Neelix, I don't wish to know the life history of my breakfast."
And Neelix is basically too bad.
Too bad. Speaking of premises that are so dumb that they kind of loop back on themselves, that one episode when Neelix almost destroys the ship because of his cheese grows mold.
Oh my god, the ship has like bio fucking parts
Yeah,
for
the
some
mold of
reason.
his cheese like affects the computers on the ship. It almost
I mean,
blows up the whole ship.
What do you expect? That's not even his fault. Like, you are literally having this guy cook with just shit you find on planets all the time. Like, you're lucky nobody's died yet. Here, Neelix, we found this growing under a tree on a planet we've never really explored. Fucking fry it up.
Oakley dokley.
We found some eggs. Cook them for are these lizard eggs? We don't fucking know. They're eggs. Cook them up. They could be sentient. We don't know. Fuck it. We're eating them.
Yeah. Yeah, Voyager has a few pretty good episodes. I like the episode of Leonardo da Vinci when he thinks he's in America.
Yeah, I like that episode. That show is a bit underrated. I feel like we're gonna see a renaissance on Voyager opinions. The way like everybody's done a fucking 180 on the prequels here in the last couple of years, like, here's the deal. Everybody knew the prequels sucked from the get-go. I know Razor Fist and other Star Wars fans want to have this like revisionist history that we all love the prequels until Red Letter Media fucking hypnotized us. That's not the fucking case, okay? The prequels were shit. I can point out numerous examples of people making fun of the prequels, like Star Wars fans making fun of the prequels like before Episode 2 even came out. You know what I mean? Like, everybody...
Simon Pegg did.
Everybody, yeah, Simon Pegg, fucking Kevin Smith, like, everybody was like, yeah, this is fucking rough. But in recent years, people are starting to turn around on the prequels because the Disney movies are so fucking bad that they are making the prequels look good by comparison. So I contend that in the next couple years, people's opinion on Voyager is going to really start to soften. Because they're going to be looking at fucking Star Trek Discovery and Picard, and they're going to be like, oh, they're going to look back at Voyager and go, we didn't know how good we had it. We're sorry.
I mean, Voyager's probably my least favorite series, but it's way better than Discovery.
I'm telling you,
Picard. It's way better.
As much as everyone right now wants to shit on Voyager, within 5 years, as we're all sitting in the rubbles during the Great War, people are going to be remembering Voyager more.
We'll be
fondly.
huddled around our Voyager, like the last copies of Voyager DVDs.
Yeah, we'll be hovered or we'll be fucking digging up fucking old Voyager novels from the rubbles of bookstores. It wasn't as bad as we remember.
The new Voyager religion.
As an angry
Oh my
mob
God.
is burning the cast of Star Trek Discovery to like witches. They'll be like, oh, we didn't know how good we had it with Voyager.
The weird thing about Voyager is when Voyager was on the air, it didn't seem like anyone really hated it. It was kind of in retrospect, people seem to kind of dislike it.
People didn't like it early on, but once 7 came on board, people started the ratings really picked up on it.
Yeah. I mean, Voyager
Gee, I
does
wonder why.
probably have... Huh?
Gee, I wonder why.
Yeah, I wonder why. But despite the fact that Voyager's probably like my least favorite Star Trek series, it does probably have my favorite character with the holographic doctor.
Oh yeah, he's great. Voyager really has the best premise too. Like,
Yeah, it really
so
does.
far removed, and like half the fucking crew is Maquis, and you gotta integrate them and all. I'm not saying it lived up to that premise by any stretch, but just it should have been the best one in many respects.
Yeah.
When you just look at the premise, it should have.
There really
outshined
should have been like a
DS9.
civil war on the ship.
Yeah, I always
That
thought
would've
it
been
would have
pretty
been cool
cool.
if like not outright fighting, but more tension.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? More of
Or like they're always like plotting, but nothing like actually happens till like maybe the end of the
like
series.
I
and-
always felt like it should have been like Chakotay and Janeway get along really well, but the different factions of the crew don't, and they're like the only thing holding it together.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if one of those two ever were killed, the ship would be on full-on civil war.
That'd be a great way to, near the end of the show, like something like that happen, like Chakotay or Janeway gets killed, and then the ship just like falls apart.
Yeah, it's just they just fucking paint it down the middle like the Odd Couple.
All right, you
Stay
guys
on your
have decks
half.
8 through 12. We'll have 1 through 7.
Fucking paint it. There's a painted line down the middle of the outside. Like, how'd you even get it out there?
Considering all the wacky episodes of Voyager, that seems like it would have been plausible. They just literally paint a line through it.
They landed it on a planet just so they could be outside painting the hull.
Yeah.
Oh, well. I'm gonna probably wrap this up because we've gone on for 2 hours. This was a pretty good
All right,
show.
wow.
Thanks for calling in.
Thanks for having me on your show.
No problem. No problem.
If you ever want to spurg out with me about Zelda again, just let me know.
Gosh, will do. All right, folks, if you enjoy the content I put out, do consider supporting the show. Streamlabs.com/TheBeckloff. Send a donation when I'm not live. I'll see it when I am live. PayPal.me/TheBeckloff. And there should